G'day to all my friends and family, and welcome to Jim's 5 a.m. club. I'm on my lunch break. It's been raining, but it's fined up just for a little while, so I thought I'd just come out and go on a bit of a walk and talk. What we'll do is we'll go through and do a book summary and hopefully stay out of the weather conditions at the moment. So I'm down here at Circular Quay, and as you can see, we've got a symbolism here of tank stream, the freshwater stream that used to be down here with the early settlers. And let's just head across the road and get out of this maze of trains and vehicles. Anyway, the book summary that I plan on taking you through today is entitled The Facebook Effect. The Facebook Effect by a fellow by the name of David Kirkpatrick. And we'll see where it takes us, because Facebook is very, very big with many users, and making the news left, right and centre of late. And I've had a couple of people that I know who have terminated their relationship with Facebook, ended their accounts for various reasons, and I just want to go through and just find out and see what these people have to say about Facebook and the Facebook effect, and where it's going, where it's all leading, and how we can grow and develop through it. So according to the author here, he says that Facebook has become the default mechanism for connecting and sharing something we want to say. So it's basically the only game in town when it comes to social media and connecting. Fair enough, there's other things like Twitter and Instagram, but for me, Facebook is the default standard when it comes to social media. And you've got to ask yourself, why is Facebook so popular? Why is it so successful? And why has it become the only game in town? And the author talks here about many years ago how we had other systems. We had MySpace, we had Friendster, and all of those other platforms which never seemed to take off, never seemed to gather a head of steam. And once again, you wonder what happened and why it happened. But the author says here that those other platforms, the problem with them was that they were a little bit too early, and Facebook came at the right time and in the right place. So what do you mean by the right time and the right place? So what we're suggesting here is that Facebook came at the right place at the right time, because these other platforms were too early to reach a critical mass. And why? Why are they too early? Why were they too early to reach a critical mass? Or potentially too slow to innovate? And the author says here that back in 2014, broadband internet access became available, and was an enabler, was a technological enabler to help platforms like Facebook express themselves in a way that other platforms hadn't been able to express themselves earlier. We had faster network. Actually, it wasn't 2014, it was 2004 here, sorry. So faster connection speeds and all of the things that went with it. So for the first time, photo uploads were possible, and it was a core function of which was a core function of Facebook. So what happened was that in the first 6 years, the number of internet users exploded with the introduction of these broadband services, and they doubled in the first 6 years. The other thing with Facebook also was that because it was it initiated, or it took root in Harvard, it also had access to the brightest minds. So there's a number of things. It was a perfect storm that it started to pick up. So the other thing that the author says here is that if you are into politics, Facebook was a great place, or is a great place, to hang out and be heard. So the first key point to come out of this book was that Facebook was at the right place at the right time. There was a technological advance that Facebook was able to take advantage of, and the functions that were available with all this new technology really struck a chord with the target audience, because all of a sudden you could share photos, you could share information, you could connect with people, and the user interface was pretty easy and pretty cool. So when it came to politics and elections and rallying support, Facebook was able to organise rallies, and it did so in a way which was cheaper, faster and safer. So it facilitated the coming together of like minds, and it facilitated the dissemination of information into groups of like-minded people, and its look and feel was something that was very, very appealing. So in order to organise protest marches and garner quick support, Facebook was the tool of choice. And they say that Obama won his election because it was the first election to be run and leveraged off a Facebook environment or platform. Because these days, what we're starting to learn, what we're starting to see and understand, is that elections are won or lost online. So there's a whole sort of platform, there's a whole campaign that is run online, where people and groups become loud and vociferous contributors. You know, you can have one or two people, and we've got a lot of those people online. You can have one or two people who are very, very active, very, very loud, and can make a huge impact, make a huge influence on the Facebook platform or on the internet platform, social media, you know, and hence why we have influencers and people who are connected to many, many people, and whose opinion is valued. It doesn't matter whether or not their opinion is right or wrong. The fact is that a lot of these people are connected to another number of other people, and they're able to get a message out, even if it's false, even if it's bullshit. The fact is that because of the connectivity, they are able to influence thought and influence opinion by just creating their own material. Once again, regardless of whether or not that material is factual or fictitious, the fact that they have the connection, they can get out there and they can get their views across. So the other thing that has changed over time is our views on privacy. You know, when I was growing up, you know, everybody lived a private life. You hardly knew what other people were doing, and if you did know, it would be scandalous, you know, for other people to know what was happening in your personal life. But what you find now is that people are proud of publicising their scandal. You know, their personal problems, their issues, their troubles. You know, people are voicing them, presenting them as if it's a badge of honour to talk about your private life, your sexual lifestyle, or, you know, I don't even know what I'm trying to say here, but you know what I'm trying to say, that, you know, people no longer are keeping their private lives private. So, and the reason for that is that our views on privacy have dramatically changed, and we have, I guess, Facebook to thank for that, because people now are happy to go public with their political views, with their sexual orientation, with their religious views, and with any particular view they have. They have a platform to be heard, and heard they'll be. Because Facebook forces you to show all. Because if you're off Facebook, you know, people will assume that if you're not connected to Facebook and you have a private life, that that you've got something to hide. So either way, you can't win. If you're on Facebook and you're public, people will take you to task, or if you're off Facebook and private, people will assume the worst. So either way, your reputation is impacted by whether you are or you aren't involved with social media. Because especially these days, if you're off Facebook, you're a bit of a dinosaur, and people see you as being somebody who's got something to hide. You know, in a world where nobody cares anymore about you know, how many people you've been socialising with, or who you socialise with, or, you know, what you do in your private time. You know, the fact that there are people out there who try and maintain their privacy is seen as quite odd. So it's now more normal to be public and to have an open book than to be private and a closed book. So the last few points from this book here is that we all want the upside of being connected and ever connected. To get it, but we need to embrace the transparency that comes with it too. I guess with transparency, you're able to, I guess, learn a little bit more about the people around you and identify the commonalities. But, you know, we also need to realise that a lot of the stuff that is publicised on Facebook is fantasy as well, and not the actual real person. You know, I've got quite a few friends who, you look at their Facebook profiles, you look at their Instagram profiles, and you know, you scratch your head and go, you know, I see what I see, but I know you, and you're not that person. You're not that, you know, you're not that open. You're not that forward. But it is a bit of a game, I guess, for some people. You know, to be as theatrical as possible, to be as dramatic as possible, to try and be as controversial as possible, to add some interest to their lives, and to no doubt be entertaining to people around them. I've actually got quite a few people who I know who are, you know, who are very conservative in person, and have been very conservative growing up and throughout their lives. And yet, as I suggested before, you look at their Facebook profile, and you'd think that they're the most connected, they're the most radical, they're the most interesting sort of people that the world has ever seen. But that's the magic of Facebook, that's the magic of social media, that you can live the dream, you can live the fantasy, you can create whatever reality you want, and that in itself is a bit of fun and a bit of tongue-in-cheek, because I guess at the end of the day, if you take Facebook and what's discussed on Facebook too seriously, then you may end up being, I guess, hoodwinked by the realities of life. Anyway, let's finish up, and thank you very much for joining me on this adventure today, this Volta, where we talk about the Facebook effect, a book that was written by David Kirkpatrick, and to understand that the world is changing, as we said before, and I say it time and time again, to my friends and family, stay connected, stay relevant, stay reasonable. And I mean that. When I say stay connected, what I mean is that you need to have a social media presence. Because if you don't, in this new world that we live in today, if you want to be too private, then you're going to disappear. You're going to be irrelevant. You're going to lose contact with many people, because for many people the new reality is social media. The new reality is the latest post, and your relevance is survived by Facebook. And I've got to admit that I really enjoy Facebook, and for me Facebook is my living diary, because I can look back a year from now, 5 years from now, and capture this moment, capture what I did, what my thoughts were. And with my Jim's 5am club, that is most definitely going to be a legacy that I'll be able to pass on to my children, to my grandchildren, and to anybody else who will ever want to know and learn from the 2020s, from the year that COVID ravaged the world. Was the entry point for me to kick off my social media campaign, my Jim's 5am club, and hopefully I'll be able to take a lot of these messages, a lot of these book summaries, a lot of this wisdom, these learnings, and share them. I don't know where, don't know when, don't know how, but my ultimate goal is to share these Jim's 5am clubs, these learnings with underprivileged people, underprivileged societies, where we can share, we can live a parallel life, we can learn the lessons, we can empower each other, and hopefully we can help each other have a better day, a better week, a better life, to be the wind beneath our wings, and to enable us all to live, learn and pass it on. Let me finish off with my positive affirmation. I'm alive, I am well, and I feel absolutely great. And I wish my family and friends all the very best for the rest of this Thursday, and for one day to catch up here in Sydney, somewhere in Melbourne, or somewhere in Australia, or possibly in Greece or some other country throughout the world, and hopefully live in a place which is probably, hopefully better, not quite as stressed as what it was in 2020, and to make the most of what we have available to us. Yassas, take care. Filakya from Jim's 5am Club, and we'll chat again later on. Bye for now.